Hi guys, welcome to the final installment of our little series here. I hope that you guys have had fun doing cartoons. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about, this is like a little bit of a review. So let's talk about what we've done so far. We've talked about how to put the words into our cartoons. We've talked about color. We're going to talk a little more about action in this one. We talked about perspective, and we've talked about shading. So let's talk about how we put action into our cartoons because we really haven't talked too much about that. So let's begin. I'm going to show you a figure here, and I'm going to do the parts that would be erased will be done in blue. This is one way to kind of plan our action. So let's do this. I'll show you what I'm going to do, and you may not be able to see this very well as I draw, but I will hold it up so we can take a look at this. So what I'm doing here essentially is creating a stick figure, but with a little more detail to it. So this is how we're going to go about this. All these lines would be erased. I would do them lightly in pencil first. But if we want to plan out some action, this is a good way to do it. So here's our head, and we're going to get some proportions. Now we're doing cartoons, so the proportions don't have to be that accurate. But what I'm doing is sketching out how the body would look. So each one of these circles that I put in is where some joints are. Okay, so this would be shoulder, elbow, wrists, and the hands. I'm just doing it in roughly. So let's say that this character is, here's the hips, legs. Let's say this person has their leg up as if they're stepping. And we come up with something like this. Okay. So then, again, remember that would be in pencil, would be erased. Then we can kind of move things around. We can adjust things. But if we like that the way that it is, then I can go ahead and darken my character in. Again, we're going to do this roughly. I'll do it in stages so that you can see what I'm doing here. So here's the start. So notice I've done the head. I've used these lines as a center line. The arm, the legs, those would be the center line. The torso and the hips here, we can kind of use those as they are. And I'm going to put some shorts on this guy. It's summertime. Do something like this. Again, I'll stop and show you as we go along what's happening here. Okay, this is what we have so far. And then we do down to the legs. And we'll put like sneakers on them or something like that. Okay, there we go. Leg. Again, I'm using these as a center line, kind of. Okay, here's our rough sketch. Got a little bit of a pose going on, okay? Now, I can do some, I'm going to add some details. Now, I'm not going to erase that blue. I'm going to leave it so that we can see what we've done so far. Now, let's put some details into this guy. And this is not something I planned out, just kind of randomly placed this pose on this guy. Again, I will stop in a few minutes and show you the details, but you can kind of see as I'm going along. So some shading in here. So we're incorporating a lot of the things we talked about already. Shading, adding some detail after we get our plan, kind of how we want this to plan out. Now, I want to point out this. Right here, where I've gotten down to the shorts, I'm going to add this so that I can kind of have this go around. That adds depth to that. I'm going to do that on both legs. Just go out here like that. I'm just adding some quick shading like this. And you can see how it all comes together. Now we didn't add very much detail to the hands. We could certainly add more detail than that as we were going along with the marker before we did all of the lines, and we could add in the fingers, or if he's holding something, that sort of thing. So now we have an action pose, but in a cartoon, if things are moving, we're going to add some action lines. So I'm going to add those in. So let's say that his arm is swinging up like this, and his foot is kicking out like this. So we've added some motion lines. Now, I don't want him just floating in the air. Again, we haven't really created a cartoon or anything, but we're going to put him into an environment. So let's say that he is actually off the ground a little bit. We've talked about where our horizon line is like that. It kind of places him in the picture, but I actually want him to come up off the ground. How am I going to do that? I'm going to add a little bit of a shadow under here. And now it looks like he's actually jumped up a little bit. Okay, so we're adding a little bit of motion. As long as we're at it, why don't we throw some words in here? Let's have him say this. Now remember, words first, then the word balloon. Okay, I'm going to put that in like this. And there we have that. So now we haven't added any color to this. We don't really have an entire cartoon, but we have some action going on. What if we had this? Now we have a reason for him to be doing this. Some shading on here. And since this is, we don't want it just stagnant in the air like that, we want the ball to be moving as well. We're going to do this. There we have it. So we've created kind of a skeleton, a stick figure, if you will, to kind of plan out where and how he's going to be posed. And then we just built on that. So let's do another one really quick. We'll do this one a little larger so you can get a better idea. So we'll do the head. See if you can see this, okay? Neck is going to go here. Shoulders. So proportionally, from here to here should be about the same as from here to here. From shoulder to elbow, elbow to wrist should be about the same. And we can use our pencil to measure if we wanted to. Measure, measure, oh, pretty close. Measure, measure. Hand go here, this hand like that. I tend to make the hands a little bit bigger in cartoons just so they stand out. Have this, I actually want to have this go back a little bit. What we've done here is this leg, we want to recede a little bit. It's a little bit further away from us. So I've made it a little smaller. This leg is closer to us. So I made it a little bigger. So then we have, that's what we have for our pose. So let's darken that in. Let's see what we end up with. And this time, a little bit of a sideways kind of thing here. A little bit of a 3/4 view on the head. this. Remember, these lines we're using kind of as a center, the center for the arms and the legs. These lines are like a center line. Kind of put some shorts on them. Here's the leg that's a little bit further away. So I've exaggerated our proportions a little bit. This one is a little foreshortened, which means that it's kind of coming at us. That's what we have so far for a quick sketch. Okay, I don't know what he's doing. He's moving. He's doing something. And I'll put the nose in here. Okay, now we can start adding some details. I think you can see that pretty well. And we could get really crazy details with this. And it's nice to plan it because once I had those blue lines in, if I didn't like them, again, those would be light pencil lines, I could also change them all over the place, raise his arm up here, do all kinds of different things without messing up my whole cartoon. All right, so now, and I would ordinarily, again, I've said this before, I would ordinarily be using this size for my cartoons. But I use the fat one because it shows up a lot better for these videos. It would be in here. And this quick hatching that I'm doing for the shading is a great way to make this stuff all stand out. But again, I'm doing this nice and quick so that we can get a visual here. Then we would put some laces on here. That. And again, we can put some motion lines to show us what's happening. So just for reference, the height of the head, if we were standing up straight and we were doing this proportionally, it would be about 7.5 times that. That's how the proportions work. This distance here is the same as this distance here, so we can use that judging. Again, we're doing cartoons, so it doesn't have to be accurate, but it's always nice to know the distance from here to here is the same as from the ankle to the knee. Okay, so that gives us an idea how the proportions work. When we're doing a drawing, if something is coming closer to us, like this leg might be coming towards us, we can exaggerate it a little bit, make it look a little bit bigger. So here's this guy. Put some more details in here. And darken in this short's really dark so we can see the difference here. That looks like that. And when I'm doing, now I did this kind of straight right here. I always like to do a little bit like this. It adds interest to the form and it makes it look like there's more action going on. If you put these wrinkles in, kind of changes how things look. This arm, you want it going back, so there would be a line here where the chest is kind of in front of that. This one is coming like this, so we would have it like that. Little details like that to place the things where we want them to be. Okay, so that's an idea of that kind of action. Now, if there's just like I had the ball in the other cartoon, if there's just one item like this, you can have those speed lines like that if it was a ball. Also, if you wanted it to be coming from far away and add some distance, some detail to it. So let's say it was hit here. So put some onomatopoeia here, smack. and we put it in this kind of word balloon, and the ball comes from here. The lines get bigger as they come closer to us, more spread out. And here is our baseball. And he's freaking out. So this shows us that it was coming from way down here, and it's traveling kind of towards us and past us as it gets larger and larger as it comes towards us. So any object that we want to have moving, we can have those kind of lines. If I had a ball, using these because it's simple to draw. And so this one is flying through the air. What if I put a horizon line here? Here's my horizon. These are separate drawings. Here's my horizon for this ball. We put lines underneath it like that. Do another drawing of it. So here's our baseball, whatever ball it might happen to be. This time he's happy because he's just floating in the air. There's our horizon. There's our shadow. And some lines there. So he's just floating, not moving. If we had a car, here's a typical cartoon thing. We want the car to be racing. So not only would we do the wheels like ovals, we would also add speed lines. We put a horizon here. It's off the ground. It's going so fast that it's practically floating in the air. So we have these speed lines here. You can add some around the wheels. You don't want to go too crazy. You don't want it to get a bit too confusing. It depends on your drawing. We have this kind of thing. The whole car is kind of angled. We've got the wheels as ovals. We've got it floating through the air. So we know this guy's going really fast. There we have it. So, important to remember, have fun with your cartoons. Use all of the fun stuff that we had talked about. Use the coloring, use the shading. Make sure you work on your own style, but get ideas from other people, other cartoonists that you enjoy. So it's always great to learn different things from different ones. In the meantime, like I said, have fun, and hopefully we'll do this again. Bye.